Welcome back to digital class, and now we're looking at basic idea of fraction. So as you know, fraction is actually a part of a whole. Okay, a part of a whole. And I believe most of you know that it looks something like this up here, 2 over 3. This is 2 over 3, where there's a number on top, there's a line in the middle, and there's a number at the bottom. So this is called a fraction. And the numbers on top, we actually call it as a numerator. And the number at the bottom, we usually name it as the denominator. Okay? Not very important to know the name, but it's good to know the name. Okay? Now, let me just give you some illustration. So for example, we have this. Let's count how many boxes do we have as a whole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 total parts. And how many are actually shaded? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that this is actually 4 out of 9, 4 over 9. Next part, we have this look. So you can see this is the whole part, and this is all fully shaded. So I know that this is actually 1. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 5 parts. I know I have 2 are actually shaded. So 1 belongs to this up here, and this is 2 out of 5. Let's look at the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 total parts. How many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 are shaded. So I know this is 5 out of 8. How about this part? I have the whole thing and all are shaded. So I know this is actually full one. And how about here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 parts, total parts, and 2 are shaded. So I also can say this is 1, 2 out of 6. But of course, in fraction, we will try our best to simplify it. Okay, so 2 and 6, can we simplify? Yes, we can, right? So this will become what? 1 out of 3. And that will be the fraction we use to represent this. Now, I have 2 more examples down here. And here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have 1 shaded. Now, my question to you is, can I say that this is 1 out of 4? And my question to you is, if I have 3 total parts here, can I say this is 2 shaded, so it's 2 out of 3? The answer is no, a big no. We cannot say that, we cannot say that. Then the question is why? Why can't I actually say that this is 1 out of 4, this is 1 out of 3? Because the parts that I have here all must be equal parts. Okay, all must be equal. And this is definitely not equal, right? This is smaller, this is bigger, this is bigger, this is smaller. Okay? And so is this given diagram here. So please, we don't know. We actually don't know what is the fraction here because all parts must be equal in order for us to find out the fraction. In order for us to find out the fraction. Okay, let's move on and look at our second part, the part B, 3 types of fraction. So as you can see, we have different things here, and that is basically we can organize into 3 different parts of fraction. Okay, the first one is called proper fraction. So proper fraction are examples something like 3 out of 5, maybe like a 4 out of 7, maybe like half 1 out of 2. Okay, and what are the common things about this is that the numerator is actually smaller than the denominator. Means the number on top is smaller than the number at the bottom, and that is called proper fraction. And on the other note, if I have the denominator to be smaller, then we will call it as improper fraction. And some of the examples are like 7 out of 5, maybe 12 out of 5, maybe like 17 out of 3. You can see the numbers on top is actually bigger than the number at the bottom. And that is called improper fraction. Okay, and mixed number, something like the third one, mixed number, is something like like what we have seen just now, like 1, 2 out of 5, like 2 out of 5, 5, 2 out of 3. These are what we call as a mixed number. We have an extra numbers here, okay, on the side. Again, we call it as mixed number. So far so good. These are basically the three types of fraction that we will see in our worksheet, exam, test, or whatever. Okay. Now let's move on to part C, which is something that is important to take note. Now, can you see the sentence down here? Here says what? Always simplify your fraction. Again, the word always, even if the question does not ask for it. Okay. Sometimes the question is very nice. They will say, give your answer in the simplest form. Means that they're asking you to simplify. And sometimes they don't say that, but they are expecting you to do so as well. Okay? Now, example, if your answer is 2 out of 4, how do you simplify that? We simplify that by just divide by 2 on top, divide by 2 at the bottom. So it will be 1 out of 2. And we know as well, these two are actually equal fraction. We call it as equal fraction. They are actually the same, just that this is the simplest form. Okay, simplest form. How about 6 out of 10? We can divide by 3, 3, and it become, oh, we divide by 2, 2, and it becomes 3 out of 5. And 12 and 60, we can simplify as 1 out of 5. How about 70 and 51? Wow, this number looks like, it looks like impossible to be simplified. Correct. But it's actually 1 out of 3. So again, please check whether it can be simplified or not. Okay, don't just leave the answer like that. Okay, now with that, I also just want to remind you with something. Sometimes you see a division. Division means, example, something like 4 divided by 5. And what does that mean? That basically also means 4 out of 5. Or I'll give you another example. If I ask you, what is 2 divided by 8? And that basically means 2 over 8. So it's actually the same thing, okay? Division and fraction is actually almost the same thing. And 2 out of 8, we actually also can simplify as 1 out of 4. Good, simple. Okay, and let's move on. Oh, one more thing to add on. Okay, it's okay. I think I will move on first. Now, part D, conversion of fraction. So what happened is, as I have told you, we actually have 3 different types of fraction: proper fraction, improper fraction, and mixed number. And what is important to take note is that improper fraction and mixed number, they are actually something that can be swapped and changed. Means that I can change this 7 out of 5 to become a mixed number. Okay? And of course, the mixed number is 1, 2 out of 5, which is here. And the same thing, if I have a mixed number here, 2, 2 out of 5, I actually can change it to become an improper fraction. Okay? Do you get the idea? Okay. Again, improper fraction and mixed number can be changed to a different form. Okay. So for example, I have 7 out of 5 here. Now I want, this is an improper fraction. And the question now here is, how do I change it to a mixed number? What is the method of changing? Now, the first way that you can do that is you do something like this. 7 divided by 5. Again, 7 over 5 means what? 7 divided by 5, correct? So it's something like this. 4 divided by 5 means 4 over 5. So 7 divided by 5. And we just do as per normal. 1 times 5 gives you 5. So what is the remainder? 2. Well, 2 is the remainder. So with that, I know that the answer is 1 over, again, this 5 should be here always, and 2, the remainder will be up here. And that is how you find the answer. Okay, 7 divided by 5. But of course, if you want to make it faster, that you don't want to do all these steps, means that you must be very good with multiplication table. Now, example, I want to change this 12 out of 5, I want to change it into mixed number. How do I do so? Of course, I can do the same thing here. But what I also can do is like this. Now, 5 multiplied by what gives you a number close to 12, but not more than 12. You probably know, right? 5 times 2 gives you what? 10. 12 minus 10 is what? 2. What is here? Here. That's it. You're done. Do you get the idea? Let me repeat one more time. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 12 minus 10 gives me 2. And I'll just rewrite this here. Same thing like this. Now, what I'm sharing here, the second method, is exactly the same idea here. It's just that I don't want to do something like this. Okay? Then I make it faster. Okay? I think it's good. You can practice on the next page, next two page. Now, let's move on to how do we convert mixed number back to improper fraction. Now, how do we do that? Very simple. I have 5 here, right? You multiply 1 and you plus 2. The same thing here, 5, I multiply by 2, I plus 2. So in this case, it will be like 5 times 1, which is 5, 5 plus 2, which is 7. So 7 out of 5. In this case, 5 times 2, 10, 10 plus 2, 12. So 12 out of 5. And that is basically the idea on how do we convert improper fraction to mixed number or going back. Good. Again, you practice in the practice pages. Let's move on to E. Now, E will be learning how to convert fraction to become decimal. Again, very simple. The first way that you can do that is the same thing we divide. 2 divided by 5. Again, we know that it's the same thing, right? 2 divided 5 is 2 over 5. Now, what is the difference is that if I want to convert, like what's happening here, right, is I will stop here when I found the remainder. I will stop here when I found the remainder. But in this case, I will divide until we complete. Teacher, what do you mean? Let's show me. Let me show you here. Can 5 be here? No. So 0 times 5, 0. So 2. And we put a dot here. Okay? And put 0 here. Just a reminder here. Just a reminder. Let me just leave it here. Reminder. 2 is the same thing as what? 2.0. It's the same thing as what? 2.00. It's the same thing as what? 2.000000. So it's all the same. That's why we can do that. Then 0, put it down here. So what times 5 gives you this? 4. 4 times 5, 50. And we are done. So converting to decimal means that we need to make sure we actually complete until we don't have anything at the bottom. So in this case, the answer is 0.4. Do you get me? Okay. Now the second way of what most of the people like to do, which is easier, is that we actually can try to make this denominator, which is the number at the bottom, to become a multiple of 10. Huh? Teacher, what do you mean? Now, multiple of 10 means what? Multiple of 10 means something like 10, 20, 30, 40. In a way that it's actually easier for us to divide. But usually, right, we like something like 10, we like something like 100, 1,000, especially. Why? Because you know, right, dividing by 10, 100,000 is easier. The 20, 30, 40, okay, but the best still 10, 100, and 1,000. So in this case, example, 2 out of 5, right, I will actually do something like this. Times 2, times 2. And that gives me what? 4 out of 10. And I know 4 out of 10 will definitely give me 0.4. So that will be much simpler, right? By other than doing this. Okay. So I will suggest you always try and see whether you are able to make it into become 10, 100, and 1,000 or not. If can, go for it. Okay. 20, 30, 40 can, but not the best. Okay. Let's look at the next part, decimal to fraction. So how do we convert decimal back to fraction? So example, as you can see here at 0.4, this is what we found just now. Now, if you want to go back to fraction, what we need to do is that we do like this. We move one time and we know it's 4 out of 10. Does it make sense? I move to the right, then I give back the 0. Okay, and of course we need to simplify this. That's why we divide by 2, and that gives me 2 over 5. So you can see that it's exactly the same thing here and here, right? Just that one going to decimal, one going back to fraction. So the same thing here. That was 0.32. We move two decimal places. 1, 2. So if I move 2 decimal places, I put back 2 0 here. I put back 2 0 here. And the same thing here, I must make sure I simplify. Now, if we want to have the simplest form and we're not really sure, it's okay if we don't have calculator. We just do it step by step. I divide by 2, I divide by 2. I know that it gives me 16 over 50. Can I further simplify it? Yes, I divide by 2, I divide by 2. That gives me 8 out of 25. Okay? And that is basically how we do that.
Next, let's look at how do we compare and order fractions. So when they ask you to compare, they either will ask you, oh, which one is bigger, which one is smaller. And when they ask you to order it, maybe basically they will ask you to order it from small to big or big to small. So as you can see, there's two situations up here: increasing order, smallest to greatest, or decreasing order from greatest to smallest. So either one, it works the same way basically. So the first thing what we need to do is to make sure all of these things are actually in improper fraction or either is in a proper fraction. Okay, so for example, you can see that this is not in improper fraction, so we'll convert this one first. So we multiply, then we plus. So I know that I have three fractions here. 8 out of 3, 5 times 2 plus is 10, 10 plus 2 is 12 out of 5, and another one is 14 over 5. And of course, if we look at here, we basically know that this is actually greater than this. But let's do the most proper way, means that we mix the denominator all to be the same. So what is the LCM of 3 and 5? And as you know, that will be 15. So we need to convert and make this denominator all to be 15. So I times 5, I times 5, I times 3, I times 3, I times 3, I times 3. And that will become 40 over 15, 36 over 15, and this one will be 42 over 15. And now I can see very clearly this will be the smallest, this will be the middle one, and this will be the greatest. And however, when we write this answer down, we must actually write back the original given fraction. For example, here, this is what we are given, so we must write this. We cannot write like the one that we have converted. So this will be the smallest, so it will be this one. So let's write 2 over 5. Next, this will be the second one. So there will be 8 out of 3. So we write 8 out of 3. And the last one will be this one. So we write 14 out of 5. And that will be our final answer. Okay, the same thing for the next example here, but now we are doing it in decreasing order. Same thing, we convert this to be improper fraction. So we multiply and plus. So we have 11 out of 12. We have 3 times 2, 6, plus 2, 8 out of 3, and 20 out of 6. And what is the LCM of 3, 6, 12? And that is equal to what? You know, 4 times 3 is 12. 6 times 2 is 12. So it's 12, right? So we can convert all this to 12. So we multiply by 4. We multiply by 2. And this will give me 11 out of 12, 32 out of 12, and 40 out of 12. And I know the greatest is this one. So I write back the original one, which is 20 out of 6. And next we have this one. So it will be 2 out of 3. And last but not least, we have the smallest here, which is 11 out of 12. Yes, and you are done for decreasing order. Okay? And of course, some of you may be a bit smart that you want to play trick. In certain situation, making the numerator might actually be the same, maybe a bit easier. But if you're good with that, I mean, we feel free to explore that, but let's not touch that for now. Okay, let's continue with our last part, which is fraction in number line. Okay, so you can see that there are two examples here. Fraction in number line. The first one is the mixed number. So as you can see, mixed number, we have an example like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what is important here is this. Let me just put a highlight here. Now, I know 1 and 2, any numbers or any, I should say fraction in between will be like 1 something out of something, right? So it must be like 1. And you can see, let me just give a highlight here with pink. So as you can see, 1, 2, so here must be 1. 2, 3, here must be 2. 3, 4, here must be 3. So in between, okay? But what actually defines why is it 5? Now, in this case, it's very important for you to take note. Why here is 5 is because here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you get me? This 5 is because here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same thing now. Why here is 5? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you get the idea. Now, why up here is 2? Because we are at the first 2. That's why here is 2. Why here is 1? Because this is 1. The first one. Okay, so this is actually very, very important because that actually helps us to decide what is a fraction. Okay, let me just simply draw example. I'm drawing here 7, I'm drawing here 8. I draw here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so example, I'm doing it like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me remove this. I think that will make it a bit more interesting. Okay, now, for example, I want to decide at this point, what will the fraction be? So it will be again 7, here is 8. So I know it's in between 7 and 8. So it will be 7 on the most left. And we need to count here. How many do we have here? Again, we don't count this, we count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know it's out of 6. Then we count, what is the number here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that at this point of part, it will be 7, 4 out of 6. Now, how about here? Of course, I know it will be what? 7. Again, we have 6 right at the bottom. And here will be the fifth one. So it's 5 out of 6. And here, I know this will be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I know here is 6. I know in between 7 and 8, so 7, and this is 6, 6. Of course, we don't write like this, right? That's why it will become 8. And the same thing here, that something that I need to remind you is that this part is actually very interesting because we actually can simplify this, and perhaps we should simplify this. So we actually can rewrite this as 7 2 out of 3 instead. I mean, if I were to tell you is this, then you look at this and it's a bit confusing, right? That's why I'm actually introduce you this first, then I tell you that you can simplify here. Okay, so that is basically mixed number in a number line. Let's move on and look at proper fraction and improper fraction. So as you can see here, a bit interesting. So again, let me just remind you one thing. First, here's a 5, but the problem is why all here is 5? Again, it's because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And why up here is 1? Because it is the first one. Why 2? Because it's the second one. 3, third one, 4, 1, fifth, the fifth one. But as you know, we don't write this because I know this is exactly 1. Okay? And the same thing here, we don't write 10 out of 5 because this is exactly 2. But the problem may be something like this. Like, Mr. Low, what I don't understand is why is it 6 out of 5? it's actually very logical, right? When you move on, that will be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, but this actually works the same thing as up here. Now see, this one, right? 6 out of 5. If I were to convert into mixed number, what will it be? It will be 5 times 1 equal to 5. 6 minus 5, 1. And you will notice that this is actually the same thing as 1 out of 5. And isn't this what we actually learn here as well? Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why here is 5. And this is the first one. That's why here is number 1. So as you can see, it's actually the same thing. And if I move on here, it will be 1, 2 out of 5, 1, 3 out of 5, 1, 4 out of 5, then 1 out of 5 out of 5. Okay? So, and again, that works the same way. And even if I want, I can continue to 11 out of 5, then move on. Okay? So again, this is very important for you to take note, and that is a fractions in number line. Okay, I think we are done for fraction, and again, it will be a quite long video, and thank you for watching it. And remember, this is actually very, very important, because this foundational knowledge of fraction can help you to move on to something that's a bit harder. Okay, and that's all for my teaching today, and thank you. See you